about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Dahlia Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
And we're back on the Dr. Dahlia Show, 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So this headline caught my eye. There's a 10-year-old boy who, as a school project, sent an essay to a congressperson. And I like that sort of a project. I think that's great. Teaching you about the legislative process, teaching you how to reach out to your elected officials. I think that's great. But this is kind of interesting. It's almost a little creepy what happened here. So it's a North Carolina fourth grader, good kid, who decided to do an essay. He's 10 years old, fourth grader, in favor of electric vehicles. And he sent it to a Republican Congresswoman, Virginia Foxx, on the benefits of e-vehicles, suggesting a $5,000 tax rebate to electric vehicle owners. Now, the news, the reason why this is a headline, is he had been very persuasive, sent it to a, apparently the project was to write a persuasive essay of their choosing, mail it off to a representative, a CEO, whomever the decision maker is, and who could be influential of their persuasive essay points. So he decided to choose 82-year-old Republican Representative Foxx, who chaired the House Committee on Education of the Workforce. And he had said that electric vehicles are better than normal cars, better for the environment. And he said, maybe there is still a chance for 6.5 million people to not die anymore. And for the weather to get better. Just maybe glaciers stop melting. So in this essay to the representative, he was advocating for climate change, saying millions of people are going to die, and electric vehicles can be one of the answers. Now, it's nice that he feels that way, and good for him for learning how to do a persuasive essay. But I'm looking at this going, who told him 6.5 million people are going to die? What? Where is he getting this? Is he getting that from school or from home? That's scary for a fourth grader to think that he has to have an electric vehicle and try to take on climate, which is really difficult. I mean, no wonder these kids are getting anxious and anxiety and depressed. For him to have to take this on, but that the electric vehicle is the answer. Now, the representative, her response is what's made national headlines. She directed the young student to read 6 articles, quote, about the disastrous record of policies enacted to address climate change. One was an opinion piece, but one was from Wall Street Journal's editorial board. And then she warned him and his classmates are being saddled into the national debt crisis by the time they reach their 20s, and that the teacher was indoctrinating him. She said, incidentally, please ask your teacher to explain propaganda to you. While I will never be able to know you, my guess is that your teachers will not give you a good educational experience and help you learn to think. They are too interested in indoctrinating you. So people are now looking at the Congresswoman as, why would you speak to a 10-year-old like this? And I was a little shocked at her response. But look, she's 82. So she's at the age where she's like, I'm not going to be using euphemisms. This is how I think. And our older generation, that's how they talk. And, you can see she was kind of upset and concerned about this, but he's a 10-year-old boy. But I am a little shocked that you have a young boy feeling like the weight of the world is on his shoulders and electric vehicles that nobody's talking about in LA, which they need to. How many of these homes in the Pacific Palisades fires that could not be extinguished, where the firefighters said, we can't do anything. We have to let those neighborhoods burn down. Not enough water, we can't do it. How many of those Pacific Palisades homes had an electric vehicle sitting in the garage. I'm going to tell you, a good number of them did. And so I'm still waiting for somebody to say, look, in addition to the horrific policies of Mayor Bass, to the suspect who lit the fire, to the winds, the Santa Ana winds, a contributing factor where everything just, there was no way to extinguish the fire, was that we were dealing with lithium batteries and thermal runaway issues. Nobody's talking about that piece. And I got to tell you, electric vehicle fires are disastrous on the climate. I mean, look, I worked for the EPA, and I'm very sensitive when it comes to what people are saying is going to help the environment or hurt the environment. I thought it was very, very cool that we changed our albuterol inhalers such that some of the components in it wouldn't hurt the ozone layer. I think that's very cool. I love the environment. But I am going to get very defensive if somebody's claiming that something is good for the environment when it can actually hurt the environment. We can't be going the wrong way. And even though I think electric vehicles are cool, I love the idea of not relying on gas and fossil fuels. There are forms of cleaner energy, but these electric vehicle fires, they're disastrous for the environment. When the hurricanes were hitting in Florida, and when they do hit again, God forbid, this summer, the governor of Florida, Governor DeSantis, and public officials are going to say, everybody get your electric vehicle out of your house, move it to higher ground, because if your electric vehicle gets wet or flooded, it's a fire risk. Did California get that warning? Did Mayor Bass tell anybody to get their electric vehicle away from the fires? Get it away from your house? No. And so when you hear a young child saying people are dying, and electric vehicles are the way to fix it, you're like, we can't be teaching them wrong. And that's very politically charged. I don't blame the kid. Good for the kid for wanting to feel about something, but we got to be educating them and not indoctrinating them. 1-877-Dr. Dr. Dahlia here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
In many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Doc-Dali, 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen, and Daniel, who is our awesome producer. So today at the hearing with the whistleblower, talking about the COVID cover-up, Dr. Johnson spoke about how he had reported, Senator Ron Johnson, on the COVID vaccine death numbers, and that none of the legacy media is covering it. And some of the numbers were shocking, and some of you reached out to me, and I just want to kind of clarify some of the things that he has been talking about it. So recently he had said that there were 38,607 deaths reported in VAERS, which is the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, from COVID-19 vaccination. There has been back and forth on if that data was misinterpreted, if it was an overestimation or an underestimation. VAERS is a self-reporting system designed to capture potential safety signals, not necessarily the, we don't have, I think, a really robust way to have a, shall we say, somebody go through VAERS saying he died, and this is the proof. And so the VAERS is what it is, a vaccine adverse event reporting system. It's where we report there's an event. I did wonder throughout the years ensuing after the COVID vaccine if that number was being updated properly, if what we were given by the CDC was the exact number. You could only go with what they give you. Now, I mean, I can't be a conspiracy theorist, but I didn't see the number 38,000. I kept on seeing the number 18,000. And what was kind of shocking to me is I never saw that number really go up, and then I saw that number removed. Meanwhile, people were getting boosters, people were getting COVID vaccines. I'm like, how is that number not changing? So I was a little concerned about the methodology of how people were reporting and what was then getting transparently conveyed to us as consumers and clinicians. But as you remember, December 2025, Senator Johnson requested records from HHS because there were claims that 10 people died because of the COVID-19 vaccine, and that nearly 3,000 people died within the first 30 days of being injected with the vaccine. Now, I don't have any firsthand experience, or I would have to say secondhand. Thank God, no firsthand experience, right, of vaccine death. I don't have a lot of secondhand experience. All I have is from what I saw personally and what was third-hand reported in local hospitals and medical centers of people fainting after the vaccine, some of whom might have had a cardiac event. Now, what makes there wasn't a lot. It was a few people here and there. But I surmised very early on that for some people, just like with a Tylenol, just like with an antibiotic, just like with a heart medication, for a select group of individuals, there's going to be side effects, and maybe severe ones, either a severe allergy, an issue with a component to it, or just a cascade of events, such as what we saw with that OB in Florida who ended up dying of ITP, where he had idiopathic thrombocytic purpura, where he lost his platelets. His immune system got triggered by the shot. It attacked his clotting factors, and then he ended up getting a brain bleed and then dying from that. And that was deemed to be a result from the vaccine. Hence, that would then count as a vaccine death and an adverse event. And so those are some of the, shall we say, concerns that many of us doctors had. As of March 1, 2023, VAERS said they received 19,476 preliminary reports of death. So the numbers are different with what Ron Johnson got versus what were being reported, and why only 2023. I understand fewer people got it in 2024, 2025. But Johnson & Johnson had the TTS, the rare blood clotting condition. That's why we stopped using the Johnson & Johnson shot. We knew that there was myocarditis, which causes inflammation of the heart muscle. That risk was so well known that even Canada told young men to not get the Moderna shot because there was a higher incidence with the Moderna shot than the Pfizer shot reported in Canada. So we knew there were side effects. Do I still believe, as a doctor and as a person who got COVID and a person who got the vaccine and didn't like it, do I still believe we should have had the vaccine available? Absolutely. Do I think we should have mandated it? Absolutely not. Hell no. The mandate was the biggest mistake we could have ever made, and we are going to have decades of patient lack of trust now as a result of our indiscriminately politicizing the vaccine. But having the vaccine was very important. I credit Trump for getting the pharmaceutical companies to get on it, and I credit Biden for rolling the vaccine out as quickly. I mean, it wasn't him, but his people did. But we really made a mistake by mandating it. Even if there was one reported death with a vaccine, you can't force it. We have to have informed consent in medicine. You can't force anybody to do anything in medicine. Now, there was a Supreme Court ruling in the early 1900s that instituted a fine for somebody who didn't want to get the smallpox vaccine. When it comes to public health, that seems to trump personal choice. And it trumps privacy. And you know, that's always kind of being weighed back and forth, where we got to protect the public, and if somebody's not protecting the public, like they have HIV and they're having unprotected sex, that's a crime by not informing somebody that you could be giving them an infectious disease. So I get that. But the vaccine, there was no proof that you getting the vaccine would not cause you to spread it. You could still get the flu vaccine and spread flu. That's been evidenced. And why isn't anybody, understanding that even though this was a new virus and a new vaccine, that previous evidence of other viruses and vaccines were completely opposite what you guys were trying to tell us? So was the vaccine dangerous? If Ron Johnson claims there were 38,000 deaths, if VAERS in 2023 said there were about 20,000 reported deaths, that does suggest there's a danger to the vaccine. However, I'm glad I got the vaccine when I did, because I needed to accurately firsthand report what the hell it was doing. And, if it was, a probe for China and all the other BS that people, I had to put the money where my mouth was. And I love the fact that 1 year I didn't get COVID, because I got to tell you, COVID messed me up. I still feel like I have remnants from that. And I trusted Pfizer way more than I trust China and the COVID virus. So for me, it was a no-brainer. I'm glad I got the vaccine. Would I get it again? No, probably not. If COVID turns out to be much more vicious and people are dying, yes, I might consider getting vaccinated again. But COVID killed more than the vaccine did. And we had to go with, the devil we knew than the devil we didn't. But what we should have done is, if at all there were people dying of cardiac arrest, ITP, TTP, blood clots, then we should have immediately said, guys, personal choice. If you're worried about COVID, here's the vaccine. If you're worried about side effects, understand there could be misinformation online, but we're going to try to give you whatever information we can. Here's the VAERS reporting system, but this is what we're seeing. Now, in terms of risk factors and in terms of side effects, you guys make the decision. Here's where the vaccine is available. But that's not what they did. It was, you got kicked out of school, you got kicked out of the military. Federal funding to hospitals hospitals were blackmailed into mandating COVID vaccines or losing funding. How dangerous is that? And I'm really ticked off. I am really ticked off. This was a mess. Now, when people say, oh my gosh, the number of vaccine side effects and the number of vaccine deaths reported is higher than any other vaccine. Well, also keep in mind, they rolled that out to millions. I mean, we were mandated to get it. And so millions of people got it. So yes, the numbers were going to be higher. And I'm not surprised. But when RFK Jr. said, look, let's hold off mandating the vaccine for 6-month-olds. I agree wholeheartedly. If you have a healthy 6-month-old and COVID is not the biggest fear right now in that child's life, let the vaccine be a choice. Don't mandate it. And let's study it more. This isn't rocket science, people. So I know some doctors are split. Some doctors love RFK Jr., some don't. I think he's right on the money. have the vaccines available. Now, I mean, honestly, I still want people getting polio. We're going to still have the recommended vaccine schedule. But COVID for a 6-month-old on the recommended schedule, I would say by choice. We have to. Especially since for some people there could be a side effect. And how we decide is what is a bigger threat. In 2020, COVID was a major threat. 2026, not as much of a threat. 1-877 Dr. Dolly.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Back on the Dr. Dolly Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dolly, 1-877-DOCDALI. So yesterday, we learned that Dr. Marty Makary has left the FDA. He resigned from his role yesterday after 13 months of leading the federal agency. Kyle Diamantis, who previously worked as the top food official at the agency, is now going to lead the FDA as an acting capacity. Politico was reporting that the decision to move on from Dr. Makary was months in the making. This was according to a senior administration official granted anonymity to discuss the Johns Hopkins surgeon's tenure. His stint, they said, was marked by mass layoffs, persistent churn among senior leaders, according to political policy fights with lawmakers, drug makers, and President Donald Trump. Trump called Dr. Makary a great guy and a friend. And then he went to China to deal with Xi Jinping. It's going to be very interesting. He said, Marty's a terrific guy, but he's going to go on and he's going to lead a good life. He was having some difficulty. So Trump didn't really give us much about what's going on. But the White House did have to sign off on the decision, but HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. made the call. And the administration official said it really was RFK Jr. that made the decision. So Makary still has public appearances scheduled throughout the week. And, not sure too much what was going on. We're being told that he upset Republicans when he didn't, or when they said that he had the FDA restrict telehealth prescription of on having the FDA restrict telehealth prescription of the abortion pill mifepristone. He said was pressured by Trump to authorize flavored vapes after initially raising concern about the products, and was criticized by biopharmaceutical companies that argued Makary's agency was inconsistent in its review of their medicines. I don't know much about what was going on with his tenure. Don't know much about the fruit-flavored vapes. I know liberal media is loving the fact when there's a little bit of a shakeup in the Trump administration, but that's I don't know much about Dr. Makary. What I have noticed is Trump's picks for his team. Much more solid and more, what's the word for it? More fixed. Like Marco Rubio, I don't think is going anywhere. Pete Hegseth's not going anywhere. These are Trump's second term. It's very different than the first term. First term, he was very new as president. He had to rely on the old guard and the I guess the Republican infrastructure. Well, who do I use? What do I do? Who do I use? And they gave him people, and they recommended people, and he got along with some, and he didn't get along with others. And it was a little bit of back and forth. Trump got Fauci, and I don't think that relationship went very well either. And if Trump didn't like Fauci, he's not the only one. A lot of people don't. But with his second term, he knew who he wanted. He knew exactly who he wanted. He did, however, take a lot of people from Fox News. Not so much because they were on Fox News, but Fox News will use experts in the field. And when Fox News likes an expert, they've used me. Thank you, Fox News. And when they like an expert, and it's somebody who they have vetted, and because trust me, when Fox News picks somebody to use, they're going to vet them very carefully, because the last thing they want is liberal media saying, oh my God, look at the guy or the clown they used. So you got somebody from Johns Hopkins, you got Marty McCary. I don't know much about his medicine, but it was, his commentary was pretty, I thought, pretty on point. But you do wonder because, like Trump picking Surgeon General. I don't know much about Dr. Nicole Saphier. She might be great. But I think Jeanette Nishwat was his first choice, and then that fell through. So, sometimes I think when he doesn't necessarily have a favorite, he looks at conservative pundits and or who have been, shall we say, very public and vocal and have a great resume. Dr. Nicole Saphier, I believe, is a radiologist. I don't know much about her. She seems very smart. But she may be the new Surgeon General. And so, Marty McCary was somebody, it's not that he was picked from Fox News. He's a Johns Hopkins surgeon, and he's an expert in his field. But when people say, well, gosh, I thought Trump got to handpick who he wanted. Yeah, his second term was different, but there's a lot of cabinet positions and a lot of senior officials. And it doesn't necessarily mean he knows everything about him, and if he knows he's going to work with them well. And I could just imagine working for Trump. Trump does look like he's very transparent. He looks like, he is down to business. And anybody who's a hard worker, and the doctor, trust me, if Trump wants to call you at 3 a.m, if he's in China right now, and he says, guys, I learned something about Wuhan lab. I want you guys to look at this. I get that. Trump, I don't want to at all compare myself to him, but I don't care about the time of day. I wouldn't bug somebody, but I'm always working. I don't sit here and go, okay, you know what? I'm going to shut off my phone. I'm going to, I'm going to need my alone time. I'm going to need my break time. I should probably do that. I just don't. And if something's got to get done, get it done now. Don't put off tomorrow what could be done today. And I, before I forget, let me put that out there. And also he does have an agenda as president, and he might not know how to exactly make that work. And he might say, make this work. And so I am sure people within the military might be frustrated. Okay. I want Iran done in 2 weeks. Sir. And so I am sure there's some headbutting, and I am sure that whoever is going to then work with Trump needs to know also how to be very diplomatic. Pete Hegseth, he has a TV background as well. So my guess is, he is military man. He's now the Department of War secretary. He knows a lot about what he's doing, but he's also playing the role of, okay, Trump wants this. So how do I convey to him what the military can do, what he wants to do, what's realistic and what's not? And it's going to be tricky. Pam Bondi, she was a go-getter. She busted her butt. But there was some things that he felt she couldn't do as it pertained to, cases that needed to be looked at and done. And so, she's no longer there. Kristi Noem, I'm not sure how that relationship went. Kristi Noem looks like she's a firecracker, works hard, etc. But commercials about her being on horses and, makeup sessions that cost the taxpayer dollars, not something that he probably really found very advantageous. And when it comes to the Department of Homeland Security, yeah. So I'm not surprised. I think Dr. McCary is a good doctor. But having personality conflicts, feeling medicine is difficult. Just like, and I bring this up with Pete Hegseth, is when you're a physician, there are certain things you could do for politics, but not a lot. When it comes to medicine, politics has to be out of there. And so that's why I was really shocked with Fauci, being very, and I understand he was getting $400,000 a year, but when he said, I really didn't agree with Trump on things, I felt like I couldn't speak my mind. Well, then if you don't feel like you could speak your mind, you get the hell out of there. If you're a physician, patient comes first, although I really don't like the flip-flopping. Trump was not pushing mask mandates, things like that. Very first thing Fauci said on masks was, it's a barrier, but it's probably not going to protect against this virus. So I actually liked Fauci. I'm like, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. And then all of a sudden it just changed. And we're like, what's going on here? So if a doctor feels, look, this is how I have to practice, this is how I practice. Doctors are pretty stubborn sometimes as it pertains to how they were trained and what. So I'm not sure, what was not in line with what RFK Jr. wanted and McCary wanted. But we'll see what happens in the coming weeks. 1-877-LA.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799, and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did, and just maybe someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
We're back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Dolly, 1-877-DOCDALI. So the more we allow bots in, the more they do. So a few weeks ago, I had been promoting my book on Facebook Meta, the depression in doctors and medical students. And I noticed, very interestingly, that it was being promoted in India, and I was getting hundreds of thousands of views of the ad, even though what I was paying usually would only get about 1,000 maybe views every few hours, right? It was, because it tells you how much you pay is how many views you're probably going to get. And I was like, wow, what's going on here? So I'm like, just in case there's something wrong, let me limit the India access, even though, yeah, that sounds great and all that. Something just seems a little wrong, seems a little fishy. And then what I was planning on paying, I always pay ahead. I never wait the month. So when I decided to go and pay, there was a block saying, well, we can't accept payment. I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's too early. So then I try the next day. Well, we can't accept payment. And then I try a different payment. Check with the credit cards. There's plenty of funds. And then all of a sudden I get this block. I said, sorry, there's spam, or it violates the rules. And it was like an AI generated bot. And I'm like, can I speak to a person? No. We've reviewed it. Sorry. We are not going to reinstate the ban. And I'm telling the bot, I just want to pay the bill and stop the ad. They're like, sorry, we know you want to pay the bill, but our automated system is not going to allow you to do that or reinstate the account. Now, I don't like having on bills paid. Okay, like Game of Thrones. Okay, I always pay my debts. And now I have this block on my business account, and I don't know what I did. I want to pay. But it had nothing to do with payment. Never had an issue. Just the bots decided to somehow restrict it. So I'm thinking that's a one-off. Until then, my Twitter. A few days or a couple weeks ago, I get this message on a verification for a password for my Twitter. I'm like, oh, someone trying to log in, because that's that 2-point verification, 2-factor authentication. I'm like, well, I'm not going to touch that text because it says Twitter. It's no longer Twitter anymore. It's X. So I'm like, I'll log in. I'll change my password. It says we've added a temporary label to your account, which may impact its reach. So I'm like, well, let me go in and change it. And then they go, your account's been suspended. If you want to appeal, click here. So I click appeal. Within seconds, it says review complete. Your account was found to contain spam or to be engaging in other types of platform manipulation. As a result, the temporary label has not been removed. So I'm on my Twitter, and it says, or my X, and it basically, says I'm only in permanent read-only mode, and I cannot. They say after careful review, we determined your account broke the X rules. What rules? I have my book on there. Nope. I don't really post much. Accounts in permanent read-only mode. Can't post, repost. Like, what's going on here? So I go online, and you see other people say, I got this, account suspended. What do I do? There's no human. And I'm seeing there's tons of people. And they go, I didn't post any spam. Did I get hacked? And so I shared this with you last week because we've surrendered ourselves to AI and chat bots and all that, but there's no humans. You used to have humans with Facebook, with Twitter and all that, but now that millions upon millions of global users, almost billions of people are using these products, the company, they don't have humans, and they don't care. They don't even have to care about customer service. Now, you think Elon Musk, because somebody said, well, was it political? No. My guess is somebody hacked it. They caught that somebody was posting a bunch of stuff, so for them to stop it, they suspended it. Well, with any other company, once the thread is gone, they would reinstate your account. They won't do it. Now, I don't care. It's Twitter, not the biggest deal. My life will go on. But as I said before, what's very, very concerning is the banks, hospitals, things like, they're going more automated. And not getting access to a human is very frustrating for those of us, especially me, who's Gen X, where let me go and fix the situation. Let me go and fix what needs to get fixed. Just let me call somebody, explain to them what happened, and let them hit whatever button that needs to be done. No human is available. Now, for those of you that have Twitter accounts and you make income off, see, I don't make income off of it. I'm good. I'll be fine. But for some of you, that's a big part of your business. Your Twitter representation or your social media presence. You're getting income from it. And just like that, somebody could hack, affect it, cause you to be banned and you don't have access. One of my friends had posted something about the gas prices during the Biden administration. And he said, I'm going to need a sugar daddy. And I actually posted something very similarly. Years later, I didn't know he had posted this. When he posted it, he got banned for life. All his pictures, all his everything banned, everything, and couldn't access. And he had to start a whole new account. Luckily, they allowed him to start a whole new account, all because he made a joke, but their software didn't like that. Now, for me, they said, you can't say that. You can't say sugar daddy, because they thought I was actually looking for one. All I was doing was posting a picture of the gas prices. I'm like, okay, all right. Trust me, I'm not looking for a sugar daddy. It was a joke. But, you see this with YouTube where people are in the middle of the podcast. They'll say, I can't say certain words because if YouTube hears, I get blocked. And now we have this fear of the computer. I hear podcasters. I hear radio hosts. I do. It takes a lot for me to be scared of anything. I get scared of a spider. I get that. I'm scared of some wrinkles and some drooping issues. But it takes a lot to scare me. I am frightened. Because for me, anything I do in life is if there is an issue, I have plan B, plan C. What am I going to do? God forbid I get cancer. What's my plan? Who am I going to call? What am I going to do? How am I going to organize things? I've gone through so many different scenarios of if something happens, what do I do? But a lot of that involves, I'm going to call this person. I'm going to reach out here. I'm going to do this. I have not planned for what if a bot blocks me, says I don't exist, says I can't access my credit card, says I can't access my bank. It's like the FBI seizing all your stuff. Who do you talk to? That's frightening. And I'm not ready for that. So I know a lot of you are like, I don't do social media, Dahlia. This is why I don't do social media. I get you guys. I get that. But if you're starting to notice that there's bots and bots and bots with everything that you are now working on, you might want to make sure you have plan B. You have a bank. Usually with banks, we should be able to access our money if we need to, but maybe start stashing some cash. Just in case something happens with a bot or you can't access it, or your account gets frozen, or your account gets suspended. If you have any account you care about and your life works perfectly, as long as everything, all your ducks in a row and everything else works perfectly, what if there's a cog in a wheel? You might want to think ahead. And we really might want to rethink about these companies getting so big that they just can't hire people and they don't want to hire people. And they're using bots to manage things. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away.
Hi everybody, it's Dr. Dahlia. As many of you know, I lost another colleague to suicide, and tragically tens of thousands of Americans, including hundreds of physicians, take their lives each year. Why is suicide so common? Why doctors? Even medical students have alarming suicide rates. Nurse burnout is at an all-time high. Maybe it's the monstrous workloads we face every day. Maybe it's because of burnout, malpractice suits, online reviews. Medicine has changed so rapidly that it's almost unrecognizable to those of us who entered this field and wanted to take it by storm. But there's not a lot of resources out there for healthcare providers who deny that they are struggling or at risk. So my book, The Depressed Doctor, aims to change that for both the physician and medical student and anyone else who is struggling. Find The Depressed Doctor on Amazon or at drdahlia.com. And if you are currently struggling, call or text 988, the National Suicide Prevention and Crisis Hotline. Don't wait. The silence is killing us.